Hello, hi, my name is Dr. Christina Baker. I'm your instructor for this class, Communication 120. This class is about 10 weeks long, so we want to make sure that we keep up with all the assignments. Let's go ahead and start by going over what our syllabus is, and then we'll go ahead and continue on with discussing our weekly assignments. Okay, here it is. Let me go ahead and make it a little bit bigger for you. Now you should have received this in your email. Here's the contact of the school. We have a phone number here as well as an email, and we also have an address and an administration email. My email. I also have another email I will replace it with. It's Dr. Christina Baker 111 at gmail.com. This UNIT email, the last time I used it, the student said that the email got returned to them. So I'm not really sure. And I messaged Gmail and they said they didn't know what happened. So I'll replace it with the new one when I send it out to you. So go ahead and look for this. If for some reason you don't see it, you can go ahead and look in your spam. You might see it in your spam as well. So always check your spam to see if maybe the email went there. Why would it go to spam? It might go to spam just because of the fact that it might not know exactly who you are. Who I am, or it may not recognize the email. There is no prerequisite for this class. So some of you may be in your last term, some of you may be in your first term. And our mission at Horizon University is to educate the next generation of strong Christian leaders who will selflessly serve their churches, communities, and beyond with their various skills and vital knowledge gained during the studies of their theology, the Bible, practical ministry here at Horizon University. This course is designed to give students the basic necessary skills to speak in public successfully, and they learn the different strategies to be effective and confident public speakers, such as voice projection and dealing with anxiety. Also, basic speech writing and formats will be discussed here. The course of the alignment with the ILO intellectual skills and the ILO social cultural skills at the development level. Under the ILO, the course addresses the PLL1 critical thinking under the ILO2, and the course addresses the POL4 communication skills. So how we're going to do this? Well, at the end of the course, students are going to be able to assess the knowledge, nonverbal and listening skills in a variety of settings. You have quizzes and exams. You describe elements of supportive group communication, describe effective decision-making, problem-solving approaches in the group, and present well research organized and audience appropriate speaker. Explain communication competence, identify your own personal strengths and areas of needed improvement in a one-on-one small group and one-to-many settings. Some required textbooks here is Stand Up and Speak Out, Practice and Ethics of Public Speaking. So just to let you know, this is the free link right here. This is the most recent copy is 2016. Now I know that everyone's on a budget because I know COVID, a lot of people got their hours cut back or they weren't able to find work. I do understand all those different stories. The reason is I have this one here is because accreditation likes the most recent one. However, we're going to use the one down here. This one is recommended. This one is the free one. So I'm going to be able to log into that link and share it with you. That way everybody has access to it. We have out-of-class learning activities in addition to the weekly classroom activity. The average of 8 hours a week during the out-of-class preparation will be required. It will include but not necessarily be limited to reading the text, preparation of the assignments, and completing projects assigned by the instructor. And we have attendance and participation. I do need to remind you that you do need to turn in your assignments. Every week you're going to have assignment, and you're also going to have like a little summary sheet saying what you learned during this review of this discussion. So the class attendance and engaged participation are expected of all the students, and gross disregard for class attendance will lower the final grade of the student. If you have an urgent need to miss a class, please contact the instructor in advance for soon as possible 20% grade. A weekly homework will satisfy class attendance and participation. Now, for some reason, let me know and the school know if something's going on, like maybe you're going to be out of the country and you won't have access to Wi-Fi for a couple weeks. Let the school know, because if they don't see your assignment, they'll think maybe you just dropped the class. You found something better to do. Well, at least in your eyes, maybe you found something, like maybe you're a movie star now and you don't have time for this class, right? Or anything could happen. You win $1 million, so now you're going to travel the world. We don't know, but we do know that participation is really important, and your attendance. We have our final exam. The test must be taken in the assigned dates, except in the cases of medical emergency. Makeup exams are not permitted without approval of the instructor. We have quiz assignments of the chapters. That's 40% of the grade. Deadline. All assignments of the course are completed and submitted at the time they receive full credit. The late assignments will be penalized 10%, or 1/2 grade of the total points available per assignment per week. Portion thereof. Permission of the late work is granted only by a special request of the instructor. We have extra credit, instructor availability. Instructor will be available 15 minutes before class. That's if we were on campus, but we're online. So if you need to reach me, you can reach me via email. Yay. All right, so attendance participation 20%, quizzes is 40%, and final exam is 40%. You want to get an A in the class. That means that you're excellent. You are superior. Your knowledge regarding details, assumptions, implications, history, superior thinking with the information relevant to the application, the critique, and the relationship to other information. And good, more than one adequate knowledge regarding technical terms and distinction, availability to use information. If it's C, it's average basic knowledge needed to function and carry on learning regarding major principles, central terms, and major figures, awareness of a field or discipline. We have below average that demonstrates that you have 4 learning skills, right? Passable awareness of course material may not be eligible for transfer. If you have a D, that means you're probably missing work in this class, because nobody gets a D unless they're not doing their work. F is fail and I is incomplete. So incomplete is for like emergency. Sometimes students find themselves sick. In the past, we've had students that sometimes contracted COVID. Things like that are beyond your control. So just let the school know and we can try to work with you. It's good that you let me know, but you have to let the school know. I'm really open to whatever your excuse is, as long as it's approved by the school. So incomplete grade will be given on a regular course only for legitimate deficiencies due to illness, emergencies, or other extraordinary reasons acceptable to professor, including equipment breakdown or shortages, and not because of the neglected student's part. Regular grade will be given to the instructor if all requirements are submitted by the end of the following semester. If all the work is submitted by the end of the following semester, a grade of W or F will be posted automatically and counted in corruption of the computation of the GPA. If you have a withdrawal, it signifies the student has withdrawn from the course after an add or drop deadline. A withdrawal is not allowed after the withdrawal deadline, and this is a permanent mark with no grade points. And there is the scale here. You want an A+, that's a 4.0. That's 98 to 100. A is 94 to 70 or 97. A minus is 90 to 93. B plus is 87 to 89. A B is 84 to 86. A B minus is 80 to 83. A C plus is 77 to 79. A 2.0 is 74 to 76. A C minus is 70 to 73. A D plus is 67 to 69. A D is 64 to 66. A D minus is 60 to 63. And below 60 is an F. We have I incomplete and W withdraw. Horizon Library provides print material and electronic materials. Students are required to check the library and information resources network, learn electronic materials, and check out print materials from Horizon Library for the work. Login information can be obtained from the instructor, school librarian, or school administrator. Horizon University has library resource sharing agreement with Evangela University in Anaheim, California, and students can access the service by visiting the university or through Evangela University website. Horizon University has a library resource sharing agreement with Grace Mission University in Fullerton, California, and students can access the library visiting the university through a Grace Mission University website, and login information can be obtained from the school librarian. So yes, you can use the school and other schools as well. That's what this message says. So for this class, we're looking at A and B. Attendance, make every attempt to be in class during the session. So make sure you do watch these videos I send you. I give you a little outline of what this video is about. And also I tell you a little bit about what we're going to do for the day. And I will show you also what other assignments and paperwork you're going to get in your email. Academic integrity is really important. Our classes in our school say no plagiarism, no plagiarism. Students, you must do your own work. Copying assignments will be considered cheating and all parties will be penalized. Please do not wait until the last minute to do your assignments. Students are encouraged to discuss their classwork and assignments together. Students can learn a lot from their peers since they go through the same learning process. However, after discussion, each student should work on his or her assignments independently from scratch. If any part of the assignment represents the word or the ideas of other students, can cite those sources. Academic dishonesty includes but is not limited to asking a tutor or a friend to complete any portion of her assignments. Hiring a reviewer to make extensive revisions on his or her assignments. Submitting work originally submitted by another student as his or her homework. Using information from an online resource without properly citing the sources and copying any word or ideas. Plagiarism and cheating are unacceptable, and plagiarism is defined as is the use of somebody else's ideas without the assignment or other original material without acknowledging the source. Let's stop here for a second. I want to show you a little video, and then we'll go back to discussing this. So then I want you to get too bored with this video right now. I know, it can get redundant just listening to me talking the whole time. So let me do little video. This is from TED Talks. He's actually one of the people in charge. This is Ted's secret to public speaking by Christian Anderson. I'll show you this quick little video and then we'll continue.
Hey, it's Brian. If you're someone who's thinking about making passive income online with an online course.
Some people think that there's a TED Talk formula. Give a talk on a round red rug, share a childhood story, divulge a personal secret, end with an inspiring call to action. No, that's not how to think of a TED Talk. In fact, if you overuse those devices, you're just going to come across as cliched or emotionally manipulative. But there is one thing that all great TED Talks have in common, and I would like to share that thing with you. Because over the past 12 years, I've had a ringside seat listening to many hundreds of amazing TED speakers like these. I've helped them prepare their talks for prime time and learned directly from them their secrets of what makes for a great talk. And even though these speakers and their topics all seem completely different, they actually do have one key common ingredient. And it's this: Your number one task as a speaker is to transfer into your listeners' minds an extraordinary gift, a strange and beautiful object that we call an idea. Let me show you what I mean. Here's Hayley. She is about to give a TED Talk, and frankly, she's terrified. Over the course of 18 minutes, 1,200 people, many of whom have never seen each other before, are finding that their brains are starting to sync with Hayley's brain and with each other. They're literally beginning to exhibit the same brainwave patterns. And I don't just mean that they're feeling the same emotions. There's something even more startling happening. Let's take a look inside Hayley's brain for a moment. There are billions of interconnected neurons in an impossible tangle. But look, here, right here, a few million of them are linked to each other in a way which represents a single idea. And incredibly, this exact pattern is being recreated in real time inside the minds of everyone listening. That's right. In just a few minutes, a pattern involving millions of neurons is being teleported into 1,200 minds just by people listening to a voice and watching a face. But wait, what is an idea anyway? Well, you can think of it as a pattern of information that helps you understand and navigate the world. Ideas come in all shapes and sizes, from the complex and analytical to the simple and aesthetic. And here are just a few examples shared from the TED stage. Sir Ken Robinson, creativity is key to our kids' future.
My contention is that creativity now is as important in education as literacy, and we should treat it with the same status.
Elora Hardy, building from bamboo is beautiful.
It is growing all around us. It's strong, it's elegant, it's earthquake resistant.
Chimamanda Adichie, people are more than a single identity.
The single story creates stereotypes. And the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete.
Your mind is teeming with ideas, and not just randomly. They're carefully linked together. Collectively, they form an amazingly complex structure that is your personal worldview. It's your brain's operating system. It's how you navigate the world. And it is built up out of millions of individual ideas. So, for example, if one little component of your worldview is the idea that kittens are adorable, then when you see this, you'll react like this. But if another component of your worldview is the idea that leopards are dangerous, then when you see this, you'll react a little bit differently. So it's pretty obvious why the ideas that make up your worldview are crucial. You need them to be as reliable as possible a guide to the scary but wonderful real world out there. Now, different people's worldviews can be dramatically different. For example, how does your worldview react when you see this image?
What do you think when you look at me? A woman of faith, an expert, maybe even a sister, or oppressed, brainwashed, a terrorist?
Whatever your answer, there are millions of people out there who would react very differently. So that's why ideas really matter. If communicated properly, they're capable of changing forever how someone thinks about the world and shaping their actions both now and well into the future. Ideas are the most powerful force shaping human culture. So if you accept that your number one task as a speaker is to build an idea inside the minds of your audience, here are 4 guidelines for how you should go about that task. 1, limit your talk to just one major idea. Ideas are complex things. You need to slash back your content so that you can focus on the single idea you're most passionate about and give yourself a chance to explain that one thing properly. You have to give context, share examples, make it vivid. So pick one idea and make it the through line running through your entire talk so that everything you say links back to it in some way. 2, give your listeners a reason to care. Before you can start building things inside the minds of your audience, you have to get their permission to welcome you in. And the main tool to achieve that? Curiosity. Stir your audience's curiosity. Use intriguing, provocative questions to identify why something doesn't make sense and needs explaining. If you can reveal a disconnection in someone's worldview, they'll feel the need to bridge that knowledge gap. And once you've sparked that desire, it will be so much easier to start building your idea. 3, build your idea piece by piece out of concepts that your audience already understands. You use the power of language to weave together concepts that already exist in your listeners' minds, but not your language, their language. You start where they are. But speakers often forget that many of the terms and concepts they live with are completely unfamiliar to their audiences. Now, metaphors can play a crucial role in showing how the pieces fit together, because they reveal the desired shape of the pattern based on an idea that the listener already understands. For example, when Jennifer Kahn wanted to explain the incredible new biotechnology called CRISPR, she said, "It's as if for the first time you had a word processor to edit DNA. CRISPR allows you to cut and paste genetic information really easily." Now, a vivid explanation like that delivers a satisfying aha moment as it snaps into place in our minds. It's important, therefore, to test your talk on trusted friends and find out which parts they get confused by. 4, here's the final tip. Make your idea worth sharing. By that I mean, ask yourself the question, who does this idea benefit? And I need you to be honest with the answer. If the idea only serves you or your organization, then I'm sorry to say it's probably not worth sharing. The audience will see right through you. But if you believe that the idea has the potential to brighten up someone else's day, or change someone else's perspective for the better, or inspire someone to do something differently, then you have the core ingredient to a truly great talk, one that can be a gift to them and to all of us.
Why we use Miro? Well, when I draw on a whiteboard, nobody sees it. But with
Okay. All right, so that was just a little video from TED Talks with Chris Anderson, who's one of the head people, and he made some excellent points about how you can present your speaking abilities with the proper message and delivery and visual aids. It's a great overview. And when we're going to be watching videos in here, they're going to be TED Talks. So as I was saying before the break, academic integrity is so important. Students must do their own work. So even if you're buying a paper online, that's considered cheating, that's plagiarism. We have to write our own work. You should use new work, not a work from another public speaking class you took at another school. That's self-plagiarism. You shouldn't take your friend's assignment and put it as your own, because that's plagiarism, deliberate plagiarism, copy pasting plagiarism. So it says right here, if any part of the assignment represents any words or others, students can cite them in sources. If you're going to be citing somebody's words, you have to put them in quotations, you know, like Jones 2021 said, blah, blah, blah. And it has to be in quotations. That would be like in-text citations, and that's fine. But if you don't do that, then it's plagiarism. So asking a tutor or a friend to complete any portion of his or her assignment, that is cheating. Hiring a reviewer to make an extensive revision on his or her assignments is also cheating. Submitting work originally submitted by another student as her own work is also plagiarism. Sorry. Using information from online sources without properly citing them in sources. Copying any word or idea from the source without citing the source. That is also plagiarism. Plagiarism cheating is unacceptable. Plagiarism is defined as the use of someone else's ideas, arguments, or other original material without acknowledging the source. Okay, also Horizon does accommodate students with disability. Horizon University Equal Opportunity Educational Institution is committed to providing access to students with disabilities in accordance to the Section 504 Rehabilitation Act and Students with Disability Act of 1990. Students are encouraged to disclose and submit. One moment. So I have really bad allergies, and I'm actually allergic to my cats and the dog. I think we have 3 cats and a dog here. But I love animals. But sorry. So back to the reading here. When formal approval of accommodation has been approved, you are encouraged to talk to your professor about your accommodation options. Any granting of any accommodations will be retroactive and cannot jeopardize the academic standards of the integrity of the course. If you would like additional information, you should visit the registrar's office to speak with the university registrar. Okay, so like today, you're going to be looking at chapter 1 and 2 of why public speaking matters today. We also have ethics matters, understanding the ethics and public speaking. So we have chapter 1 and 2 today. But we're going to go over it with you. And then at the end of the chapter 1 and 2, there's some exercises we'd like you to finish. So you'll be doing that today. And moving right along. This is a rubric for the assignments here. You always want to be aiming at 4 for the organization, content, form, application references, submission time, your form, your material, identification of themes, reflection, and submission time. You always want to aim at the A. If you want to get an A in the class, you want to aim for 4. Oral presentation will be content, discipline, initiative, teaching, skill, and methods. We have group work, class participation, attendance, and tardiness. So some of you are like, well, what's this summary review? Well, you're gonna have 10 different days of it, because there's 10 here. And this is what it looks like. So today is the 3rd. So you're gonna have 7 days to do it, and it's gonna be due on January 10th, which is a week from today. It'll be next Monday, because today is Monday. And did you watch the video? You're gonna check yes. Then you write down one thing you learned from the lecture. Okay, so I will include a video for you. We're going to have your outline and this. So make sure you turn in this back to me the following week with the assignment. Okay. The assignment is going to be the answers to the questions at the end of the chapter. So what you can do is you can continue and you can answer the questions on this page too, if you like, or a separate page and attach it to it. All right, so that's that. So if you have any questions, you can email me as well and let me know your questions with this assignment. But it is pretty much self-explanatory and most people want to get an A. So my idea to you is if you want to get an A, just turn it all in. If you don't want to get an A, I don't know why anybody would not want to get an A, then don't do it, right? It's as simple as that. But if I was you, I would do it because we all want to get A's, right? Yes, we all want to get A's. Why would anybody not want to get an A? Why would you say I don't want to get an A? I don't understand why students wouldn't care and they wouldn't want to aim for an A. I mean, that's what you should do. Is there any way that you want to get an A in the class? Yes. Like I said, if you forget to do the assignments, you won't get an A. Okay, so I should suggest to you to make sure you do everything, all your assignments. All right. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you a little bit about myself. So I'm Dr. Christina Baker, and I've been teaching at the school since last fall. But I'm not new to teaching. I've been teaching since October 2009, college level. So I've been teaching college for a long time. So it's not anything new, you know, teaching college. Before that, I was a K-12 teacher. I taught elementary school, middle school, and high school as well. So here's a little bio about myself. Create a little PowerPoint for you. Okay, so I'm Dr. Christina, and I'm from California, USA. Currently, I live in Texas, but I am originally from California. I moved to Texas in October. I live out here because I'm doing research right now. I'm writing 2 books. I'm writing a book on customer service post-pandemic and human resources post-pandemic. When I lived in California, I've been teaching college, but on the side, I've taught different levels. I did even some tutoring. But for my book, I worked in 3 restaurants. I worked at Caro's and Cerritos. I worked at Buena Gente Italian restaurant in Long Beach on 2nd Street, and I worked at Little Fisherman in Cypress. And currently, I work at Cracker Barrel in Temple, Texas, and I'm going to work at 2 more restaurants. And so, with the restaurant experience, I'm gaining personal insight on customer service. I've seen a lot post-pandemic, about how everybody is being very cautious with COVID, but there are some areas where I see that the people don't really think COVID's a big deal and they're not taking it seriously, and other places are taking it way too seriously. And so that's one book. And then also about how some customers are not tipping and how people are being cheap. And it's really sad how we do sometimes treat people, and everybody should be respected. It's one thing to give respect to get respect, but it's another thing not to be respectful at all to people. That's not right. And the second one is human resources post-pandemic. That one I actually interviewed at like 90 places in the last year. I had an opportunity to interview at a couple more, but it just didn't happen because I was either working or I had other commitments that day. Like Nordstrom's wanted to interview me, but they told me the day before, but I was already taking my grandma places because she had a heart attack. She had a stroke, and so she's not able to drive and things like that. So I actually committed to help her that day, so I couldn't do my interview because it was like a one-time thing. So things like that happened, but I did 90. My goal was 100, but like I said, I was either working. I do teach on Zoom at other universities at specific times of the day, and I did work in restaurants, so it was really hard to get the interviews in. Where am I going to work right now? I'm not really sure. My goal is to work in 2 more restaurants in Texas, and then I can be complete with that task, and then I can start doing the writing. So much information in my head, but that's who I am. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm working on 2 books. I do have 2 dissertations that are published. I have a DBA, and it's in a business from International American University, which is a Christian international school. And that dissertation is bribes versus favors and gifts in the business world with South Korean and Chinese businessmen. So that's my dissertation. It's published on lulu.com. I have another dissertation I published. It's a PhD with Capella University, and that's in education with an emphasis on curriculum instruction, and that's on ProQuest. And ProQuest, anybody can go there. Before this end of the session, I'll go ahead and show you how you can find my paper there. But it's about a non-traditional English language learning students between the ages of 18 to 24 who are getting their high school diplomas, and they're getting some job skills to help them in the construction field. So those are my 2 publications. I do have 5 master's degrees, and I have one bachelor's. But my first master's is in speech communication from Cal State LA. I have another one in adult education from Trident University. I have another one in business nonprofit management from Hope International. And I have another one from Capella, and that one is in education, reading literacy. And yeah, I have another one. It's a master's of science in holistic nutrition. I don't eat healthy, but I know all about the nutrients. And then I have a bachelor's in communication studies from Cal State Long Beach. I have 2 associates, one from Columbia College in general education, and I have another one in speech communication at the AA level from Long Beach State College. I have 2 teaching credentials with the state of California. I have a multiple subject for K-12 and an English credential. I have a reading certificate from UC Irvine, and I have an English language learner certificate from UCLA Extension. I have a plant-based certificate in nutrition from eCornell. I have, Spanish from Penn Foster. And I have a CNA from Best Healthcare University in Riverside. So this is me. I grew up in California. I grew up in Long Beach, but I worked in Los Angeles. Who is she? I'm an educator, a tutor, and a writer for over 10 years. I experienced teaching adults and children in the grades K-12 with the emphasis on language arts for 7 to 12, reading, writing, English fundamentals, literature, and rhetoric. And like I said, I do enjoy teaching college, and I teach other classes as well, like business and general studies. My allergies are so bad today. That's why I was avoiding doing this video till now, because I was really coughing a lot yesterday and I had a bloody nose and things. I know, side note, progressing, but I just want to let you know why you got the video now. Favorite color is pink. Favorite food is tacos. My favorite animal is cats. That's why it's taco cat here. Favorite outdoor activities is running, swimming, and tennis. I haven't done any swimming because it's been really cold where I'm living right now. But in my last place I lived, we had tennis courts and we had swimming pools, and we had a little area where you can do some walking, like a half mile. So that was really nice. That was in California. My favorite book is Mouse and the Motorcycle by Beverly Cleary. My favorite movie is Beauty and the Beast. I do have 3 cats right now. Princess Snowball, she just turned 14. Oh, Marbelina just had her birthday 2 days ago until I forgot. She just turned 12. Petunia is 1 year old. I have traveled in the world, not as much as I wanted to, but I did travel. I probably traveled about 40 out of 50 states. I've been in different parts of Mexico, like Tijuana, Chihuahua, Chiapas, Mexico City, Cozumel, and Juarez. Canada, I've been to Toronto, Calgary, and Niagara Falls. Europe, I've been to the London, UK. In Eastern Europe, I've been to Ukraine, Russia, Kosovo, Macedonia, and Hungary. The islands, I've been to Jamaica and Grand Cayman. And I've also been to Israel. On my last trip I took was with my family to Minnesota before COVID for my PhD graduation in August 2019. I had fun on my graduation. I traveled the metro to find places to eat. I went to State Fair, Mall of America, indoor golfing, Nickelodeon Town and Amusement Park. This is me. I even taught like 1 year, 7th grade. I taught 5 years as a full-time K-12 teacher, 7 years substitute teacher, 2 years as a teacher's aide, 22 years as a tutor at risk children, 11 years at the college. It's gonna, actually I just hit 12 years. I gotta go back and change this because I've been teaching since October 2009, not 10. And I do work in Los Angeles and Orange County cities. Right now I'm just strictly online. And my only in-person job right now is Cracker Barrel. And I'm just teaching online nationally and internationally. I do write curriculum, and I do have like my own tutoring business at all levels of education. And I do have a love for school and learning. I do, like I said, I told you this earlier. I do have my PhD in education. I do have a DBA in business, so I do have 2 publications. And I'm so excited to meet you all. Okay, so that's who I am. And moving right along. All right, so this is Stand Up and Speak. This is the PDF. I'm going to send you this link too. This is it. Stand Up and Speak. Oops. Practice and ethics of public speaking. Okay, so this is the introduction to public speaking. Why public speaking matters today. It is really important when we're speaking to use proper ethical terminology and make sure we speak truth. So many people right now have fake news and it confuses people, right? There is a couple different places that they have fake news, like the Babylon. I think it's called Babylon. And it has like a little bee and it's a website and they have fake stories, but people sometimes take those stories and they share them on Facebook. I've seen them. They seem so good to be true, but they're like fake. So public speaking in the 21st century. Public speaking is a process of designating and delivering a message to the audience. Effective public speaking involves understanding your audience, speaking goals, choosing elements for your speech that will engage your audience with your topic, delivering your message skillfully. Good public speaking understand that they must plan, organize, and revise material in order to develop an effective speech. This book will help you understand the basis of effective public speaking and guide you through the process of creating your own presentation. We'll begin by discussing the ways in which public speaking is relevant to you and can benefit your career, education, and personal life. In a world where people are bombarded by messages through television, social media, internet, one of the first questions you may ask is, do people still give speeches? We'll type the words public speaking in Amazon or Barnes and Nobles, and you'll find more than 2,000 books with the words public speaking in the title. Most of these other books are related to public speaking are not college textbooks. And in fact, many books are written about public speaking are intended for specific audiences, like a handbook of public speaking for scientists and engineers by Peter Kenny, or excuse me, Let Me Speak, A Young Person's Guide to Public Speaking by Michelle J. DeWitt. Welcome. Or Professionally Speaking, Public Speaking for Health Professionals by Frank DiPiano and Arnold Millick. And Speaking Effectively, A Guide for Air Force Speakers by John Klein. Although these different books address specific issues related to nurses, engineers, or Air Force officers, the content's basically the same. If you search for public speaking in an online database, you're going to find numerous articles on public speaking in business magazines like Business Week or Nonprofit World, and academic journals like Harvard Business Review or Journal of Business Communication. There's so much information available about public speaking because it comes to the relevant event that the growth of technological means communication. As author and speaker, Scott Burkham writes in his blog, for each our tech are still very fond of the low tech thing, there is a monologue. People continue to spend millions of dollars each year to listen to professional speakers. For example, attendees in the 2010 TED Technology, Entertainment, and Design conference, that's what we just watched earlier with Christopher Anderson, and invite speakers from around the world to share their ideas in a short 18-minute presentation. And they're paid about $6,000 per person to listen to 50 speeches over a 4-day period. So that was this one. I've been invited before in the past to watch one like at UCLA. They had one there, but of course you have to pay. And that's how they make money. But they're fun to go to and you learn new information from regular people. Technology can also help public speakers reach audiences that were not possible to reach in the past. Millions of people heard about and then watched Randy Pulsch's last lecture online. This captivating speech, Randy Pulsch, a Carnegie Mellon University professor, retired at age 46 after developing inoperable tumors. Developed his last lecture to his students, faculty, and staff. So Randy Pulsch, he wrote a wonderful book that was actually translated in multiple languages. I knew a couple students that were reading it in their native language. So he did a TED Talk. So why is public speaking important? In today's world, we're constantly bombarded by messages, good and bad. No matter where you live, or you work, or go to school, or what kinds of media you use, you're probably exposed to hundreds, if not thousands, of advertising messages each day. Everyday public speaking, every day, every single day, people across the United States and around the world stand up in front of some kind of audience and speak. In fact, there is a monthly publication that reproduces some top speeches from around the United States called Vital Speech Day. Click here. This is Vital Speech Day. Can you see it? Pro Rhetoric, Cicero Speech Writing Awards. What are you willing to sacrifice for truth? Pro Rhetoric, the funny section. Stubborn facts that need to be part of the credible energy transition. Why didn't the great Indian speechwriter write a memoir? 2 reasons. There you go. Here's some other ones. Here's the book, An Effort to be Understood. Okay. So there's an interesting link I just showed you. Had some stories, more recent ones in the last couple of months I read to you. Titles. Okay, so right here we have the interaction model. What is interaction model? Well, let's check it out. So there are models of public speaking. A basic model of human communication is one of the first topics that most communication teachers start with in a class. For our focus on public speaking, we're going to introduce the widely discussed models of communication. We have interactional models of public speaking, the linear model. We have source, receiver, source, and then receiver. We have the interactional model that is avoiding or adapting these types of noise, an important challenge for speakers. Source, receiver, receiver, source. The interactional model of communication is developed by Wolper. Scram builds upon the linear model. Scram added 3 major components of Shannon and Weber model. First, Scram identified 2 basic processes of communication, encoding, decoding. Encoding is what source does, creating a message, adapting to receiver, and transmitting across the source selected channel. When you're at home preparing your speech or standing in front of your classroom talking to your peers, you're participating in coding process. The second major process is decoding process or sensing. For example, hearing or seeing a source's message, interpreting a source message, evaluating a source message, and responding to the source's message. Decoding is relevant to public speaking content. As the audience member, you listen to the words of the speech, pay attention to nonverbal behaviors of the speaker, and then attend any presentation aids the speaker uses. Down here, we have the transactional model. Here's a little diagram right here. You can see the person speaking at the podium, the channel, and then the messages, the receivers. Those are the people listening in the audience. One of the biggest concerns that people have with the interactional model of communications, it tends to place people in categories of either source or receiver with no overlap. Even Schramm's model, encoding, decoding are perceived as distinct for sources and receivers. Furthermore, the interactional model cannot handle situations where multiple sources are interacting at the same time. Dialogical theory of public speaking. The dialogical theory is based on 3 overarching principles. Dialogue is more natural than monologue. Meanings are people, not words. Context and social situations impact perceived meaning. And let's look at each of these in turn. Dialogue versus monologue. The first tenet of the dialogue perspective is that communication should be dialogue, not monologue. Lev Shavatsky argued that even public speaking situations often turn into dialogues when the audience members actively engage speakers by asking questions. He even claimed a nonverbal behavior, nodding one's head in agreement and scowling functions as feedback for speakers and contributes to a dialogue. Overall, if you approach your public speaking experience as a dialogue, you'll be more actively engaged as a speaker, more attentive to how your audience is responding, which will in turn lead to more actively engaged audience members. Meanings are people, not words. So what one person says can be translated different ways to different people, right? So meanings are in the people, not the words. So I might say one thing, but then somebody might take it as I'm being mean. Someone else might take it as I'm being nice, right? So although we cannot predict how all of our audience members will interpret specific words, we do know that, for example, using teenage slang when speaking to an audience at senior center will most likely hurt our ability to convey our meaning clearly. So sometimes, like comedians, they make jokes and people laugh and other people don't get it and they don't think it's funny. Maybe they're offended, right? So we have to be careful sometimes that we stay away from anything that's hurtful or harassing. Russian scholar Mackay notes that human interaction take place according to cultural norms and rules. How we approach people, the words we choose, and how we deliver speeches are all dependent on different speaking contents and situations. We even have like example here. This was President Barack Obama. He addressed children in a televised speech. Sorry, this was too long ago, so it's been removed because now, since Obama, we had President Trump, and now we have President Biden. All right, moving along. This is page 15 now of the book. There's social, psychological dimensions. Its content refers to status relationships among participant roles and games people play, norms in society or a group, friendliness, formality, and gravity of situation. You have to know the types of people in your audience, how they react to the world range of messages. And final content dimension, Joseph D. Vito mentions cultural dimensions. When we interact with others in different cultures, misunderstandings can result with different cultural beliefs, norms, practices. As public speakers engaging in dialogue with the audience members, we must attempt to understand the cultural makeup of our audience so that we can avoid the misunderstanding as much as possible. Each of these elements of content is a challenge for you as a speaker. Throughout the rest of the book, we're going to discuss how you meet the challenges represented in the audience and content becoming more effective. Public speaker in process. So these are the end of the chapter assessments right here, the chapter exercises, and then we answer these questions here too. Okay, before we go to chapter 2, which is ethics matters, understanding the ethics of public speaking. Okay, so some of you are like, I get really confused on which questions to answer. It's okay. So when I give you the outline, underneath like the outline, because today it'll say like review the syllabus, introduction to the instructor, and then it'll say chapter 1 and chapter 2, and then after that it'll say do your homework. These are the homework assignments. So then I'll put that there. So if you're confused because you're like, there's too much here, I'll just put that there and just follow what it says. But the answers are here in this book. Some of these answers may be like, just tell me what your thoughts are. That you're not going to find in the book. It has to be your own thoughts. And we're all going to have different answers. It's going to be subjective and they're all going to be correct. Other ones will be like, oh, what did this person say? We just look here in the text of this book and we find it there. Okay. So before we go on to this chapter, I'm going to go ahead and show you a TED Talk. This is surprising secret to anyone speaking with confidence. I love Caroline because she makes a point here. Oops. Hold on a moment. Let me try this way. She brings a point to bring her visual aids.
If you're still trying to figure out how
and with her presentation, her visual aids help us as audience members be engaged. So let's go ahead and watch
to
this.
find really encouraging and super useful.
It's this moment, isn't it? I'm looking at you, and you look like a really nice bunch. There's been such great energy. I was sitting here for 5 minutes, and it just feels great, this room. And you look really friendly and up for it, so thank you. And you're looking a bit unsure, you know, voice coach, don't worry, it's going to be fine. And I can see a couple of really brainy TED faces there, and there's going to be a few ideas too. But it is this moment where our worlds are colliding right now. You're looking at me, I'm looking at you, and it hits my brain with a feeling of adrenaline. Accelerating molecules, you might say. And different people deal with this moment differently. Some of us go, hey, you know, there are people who are confident, they cope with this moment totally fine. And then there are other people and not so confident, and it stops them speaking this moment, makes them feel anxious, makes them feel maybe they're not up to it. And that is not the case. Actually, all of us have confidence within. And what I want to talk about today is the idea that we can find more confidence within us if we know where to look. And where do we look? We go within. We look under the bonnet. And that's where we're going next. And the reason I want to talk about this is because many years ago, I stood in front of an audience this big, bigger, at Central Hall, which is by the Houses of Parliament, a really big Methodist space. And I was super excited about that moment because I knew that it was my big moment as a rookie voice coach and that I was going to be able to speak. And I stepped up in front of that audience, and what happened was everything that could possibly go wrong did. I went too fast, I lost my words. It felt like such a horrible experience. And just as I thought it couldn't get any worse, the microphone broke. And I looked out across the room, and I said in my big voice coach voice, there wasn't this much wind at the time, I have to say. And I said in my big voice coach voice, can you hear me at the back? And someone said, speak up. And I just felt this feeling of absolute shame. That feeling of an audience looking at you and a feeling of judgment which cripples us. And I left that venue and I thought to myself, never again. Now that clearly didn't work because I'm here. I also thought I'm going to do it differently next time. I'm going to make sure that the next time I stand up to speak, it feels good. And where I had to go was within. Now, we live in a really visual culture. We spend a lot of time, if we think about two worlds, we spend a lot of time thinking about the outside, maybe especially for women. And actually, confidence doesn't exist on the outside. It exists within, in the visceral stuff, in the bits within you that we don't see. And we're going to go to those bits. And when I was thinking about this idea 3 months ago, when I got asked to do it, I started to feel nervous about this moment. I started to think about a quote that the director Peter Brook had said, which is that we open new drawers in the self. And I started to think about a chest of drawers. And then I came across this really cool maker called George McCallum, who's actually sitting there. And I said to George, can you make me a chest of drawers? And he did. Now, you might be wondering what this object is. And what this object is here is what George made. But when you ask a maker to make a chest of drawers, they don't always do what you think they're going to do. Do you want to see what he did? Yeah, thanks, George. Best response of the morning. Upstaged by the furniture. And within this little chest of drawers, or this rather big, manly chest of drawers, are 3 secrets to finding confidence within. 3 lessons that I had to learn on the way. Now, there's a big lesson in here. The last lesson is the big one. We're going to get there. And it's not what you might think. It's a lesson that might surprise you. But first, would you like to see inside the first drawer? Yes. It's a bit delicate, this, George. So what we have in here is an instrument. Because as you've just been hearing, the voice is the most amazing instrument. It's magnificent. And how often do you think about how yours works? Because like this little guitar, it has a string and it has a hitter. Where's the string of your voice? Should we put a hand on it? Here, give it a shake, it's your larynx. Can everybody do that for me? And then the hitter is the air. Now, when you know that your voice is an instrument, what does that tell you? You know, people come to me and they say, oh, I've got a bad voice, I'm not a good speaker, I get worried about this kind of moment, I hate meetings, I hate presentations, can't do it. The voice is an instrument. There's no such thing as a bad saxophone, is there? Because when we hear a great saxophonist, and he's probably somewhere down here, what we know is that they've practiced a lot. That not only do they have talent, but also that they have worked and worked and worked to get a great sound. Now, if you ever doubt the sound of your voice, let me tell you, all you have to do is practice. And when I was worrying about that moment that I'm going to call my central hall of shame, because it was, what I remembered was the story of a guy in ancient Greece called Demosthenes. Now, it's a bit of a big old name, so we're going to call him the Greek dude from now on, which actually is also a bit of a big word, so we might just call him Dave, I think. Now, Dave was speaking at the assembly, which is like the O2. We have Simon in the room. It's like the Brixton Academy of the Greek, ancient Greek world. And he was feeling pretty nervous. He wanted to be an orator. Orators were the rock stars of their day. And so he geared himself up for this big moment at the assembly. And you know what? He bombed. They said he was uncouth in his speaking and that he stammered.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it right now. I think I found the single biggest productivity hack of 2021. It's this Google Chrome extension called Speechify, and it literally does my reading for me.
So let's say you have to read an incredibly long email from your boss that you have to finish before the big meeting starts in 10 minutes. Or you're cramming for an exam the night before, but can't bear to keep your eyes open to read one more textbook chapter. Or you're reviewing a dense legal document that could change your life forever. Or you're proofreading your thesis one last time before you submit it to make sure there aren't any errors. No matter what you have to read, we could all use a second pair of eyes to help us retain information and put our best foot forward. Enter Speechify, a reading assistant powered by artificial intelligence and deep learning, and designed consciously for students and working professionals who want to get more done. Speechify does the reading for you, so you can spend less energy reading and more energy comprehending. Choose your listening speed. Start at 230 words per minute and build to 500 words per minute, which is 2.5 times faster than most people read. Choose from a range of incredible voices that use human inflection, so you can stay engaged without getting tired. Don't have enough time to finish? Take your reading on the go with a single click. Best of all, Speechify is free. Click on the button to download now.
This is your home. This is your family room / gym. The guest bedroom / music studio. The daybed / dog bed. The living room / yoga shanty / regional office.
How did you guys do it?
/ classroom. And this is the basement / panic room. Maybe what your family needs is a vacation home / vacation home. Find yours on the Vrbo app.
And so the audience jeered at him. They threw stuff. Please don't do that today. And he left that stage feeling so downcast when he got a bit of advice from an actor. Now, I'm sure Greek actors were pretty much the same as they are now, and I'm sure the actor was a bit like this. But what he said to him is, you need more expression in your voice. You're just not giving it enough welly, enough energy. And you also need to believe in yourself because the message is good. So Demosthenes takes himself back home and he goes for it. This is his rocky moment. He builds himself an underground cellar. He shaves his head, half of his head, so that he can't leave the house for 3 months. And then he practices for 3 months solid in front of a big shield that's polished like a mirror. And when he's ready, when he's up there, he goes out, he goes to the sea, and he speaks over the waves. So his voice has to boom out over the waves. And then he goes back to the assembly. And he speaks again, and he becomes known as one of the greatest orators of his day. So what does that tell you? It tells you about practice, the power of practice. Now, you might not want to shave half your head. You might not want to build an underground cellar because the council might have words. But what you can do is practice. And the simplest way to practice is to sing. You don't have to do a big voice coach warm-up unless you want to. But what I really recommend is that every day sing somewhere. Sing in the shower, sing in the car, sing on the tube if you feel brave. I was in St. Thomas's Hospital for a blood test about 2 weeks ago, and there were 2 women singing in the space where the blood tests were happening, which was lovely. So I recommend it. Singing is the way to a great voice. Practice is the way to a great instrument. So that's lesson 1. And we have another drawer, which we're going to open in a moment. But before we get there, I've got a question. Say you walk into a room, okay? You don't know anybody. Some of you may have had that feeling this morning. How do you know who the most powerful person in the room is? The person with the most confidence, that inner confidence that we're going for here. How could you tell? How they carry themselves. That's lovely, Lola. And you're in the same space, aren't you? Because you're a singer. And it is that how they carry themselves. And actually, what an actor will tell you is that it's about the breath. The most powerful person in the room has the most relaxed breathing pattern. And there's a well-known scientist called Paul Ekman who looks into emotion. And he said, which would make actors laugh because it seems so straightforward to them, but maybe isn't to science, that he couldn't understand why breath mattered for a long time, and his research has explored it, until he started to understand that the unconscious system, I can't control my spleen, it's just doing its own thing. But I can control my breathing. And if I get into my breathing, I get into the unconscious. I calm myself down. So what's within you is the key to this relaxed, confident power. Actors know this because when actors are playing king, the king stays really still. Everybody moves around the king, and that's how you know the king's in charge. The next time you feel nervous about something, try that. Try getting still. Now, within your body is something that is really the king of the body. It's what the Greeks called the center of all expression. And I bet that 50% of this room have never thought about it. Would you like to see what it is? So, thank you, my still handsome friend. So, okay, we've got our lungs, haven't we? We've got this, which is probably not an anatomical representation of a heart, but it's nice. But what's down here? What's this? Thank you very much, diaphragm. It is indeed your diaphragm. Now put your hands up if you have thought about the diaphragm recently. Put your hands up if you've thought about your diaphragm today. Thank you, singers in the room. Good, or actors, or saxophonists. Put your hands up if you haven't yet thought about your diaphragm today. Yeah, that is quite a large percentage. So we don't think about our diaphragms, do we? But the diaphragm is the key to regulating your system. It's how you calm yourself down in that moment where you stand in front of all the eyes. It will make you feel confident when you most need it and you least feel like it. Now, I didn't know anything about my diaphragm. I'd learnt about it. I knew what it was supposed to look like, but I didn't know how it felt. And then one day, I was feeling really stressed. I was breathing up in my chest. I had that kind of squeaky, high-voiced adrenaline breathing up in the chest, not good. And I walked into a yoga class, and the yoga teacher said, "You look really stressed," which is never a good start. He said, "Lie down on the floor." And he laid me down, and I closed my eyes, expecting some lovely, relaxing yoga thing. And suddenly, he put a gym weight on my stomach. And he said, "Breathe, lift that." And I did. I breathed in. And as I breathed in, I had to lift that gym weight with my stomach. And my diaphragm shuddered into action. And suddenly I got it. I got how it should feel. I got that I didn't need to breathe up here anymore, that I could breathe down. And I'd like to suggest that the diaphragm is the king of confidence. So should we find yours? We take a thumb? And take your thumb and just put it below your bra strap. Yeah, that's right, sir, you got it. That's it. And just thumb there and just gently push. Now, Laurence Olivier, when he was taught to breathe, Laurence Olivier, you know the actor, was taught to breathe by pushing a grand piano. Now, I certainly don't have a grand piano at home. London houses don't fit them these days, do they? But we can all practice the feeling of pushing a grand piano if you breathe in and push your thumb away. And now breathe out and feel it push back. So you're filling up an air balloon in your stomach. Now breathe in, push your thumb away. Now breathe out, push it back. Welcome to your diaphragm. And if you put your hands on your ribs, your diaphragm goes all the way around. You can also fill the rib cage as you breathe in. So feel the ribs open as you breathe and close as you breathe out. If you are ever nervous about one of these moments, do that. Your diaphragm is the key to your confidence. So we've got two lessons. We've got the power of practice. We've got the importance of the diaphragm. There's a third lesson, which is the big one. It's the one that really makes a difference. And I started to think about this lesson a couple of weeks ago, actually, because someone I'd worked with wrote to me. She wrote me an email, and she said she'd been through the worst possible thing that you can imagine happening to someone. She had just got married and was on honeymoon when her husband had a heart attack and died. And she had to go back to the church they got married in and speak a eulogy for this man. In fact, she also read a poem that she'd written when they first met. And she said, on the worst day of my life, I had to pull myself together. I had to find the energy of celebration for this man that I really loved. And the only way to do it was what you taught me, the skills of breathing low and slow, taking my time, getting the control, finding the inner confidence. It was the greatest gift I could give him. And there are moments in our lives where we have to speak, not because we have something to say for us, but because we want to speak for someone else, a wedding, a eulogy. And I would suggest that in those moments, these skills matter more than ever. And what you need to know in those moments is in this drawer. It's breath. It's air. And why air matters is because we breathe our thoughts. All speech is out-breath. All song is out-breath. And all in-breath is thought. Just put a hand back on that diaphragm for a moment and breathe out. And then feel the breath in, and as you breathe in, think of someone you really love. Now, if we were all to speak on that out-breath, it would be full of love. Now breathe in again, and breathe in a feeling of excitement for the day that's going to come, because it's going to be so good. And if we were to breathe in and then speak on that feeling, then we have excitement in our voices. So you can control your voice with the idea of breath is thought. And it's in Latin, the two worlds, ancient and modern. The Romans understood this. Inspiration and respiration have the same root. The Romans understood that we breathe our thoughts. And because we speak on the out-breath, all you have to think about is the in-breath. And you know the simplest way to think about the in-breath? Close your mouth. So who would have thought that the big secret I promised you was that if you want confidence in speech, all you have to do is know when to shut your mouth. Thank you.
All right, great. So that was Surprising Secret to Speaking with Confidence by Carolyn Goiter. And now to chapter 2, ethics, understanding the ethics of public speaking. So she made a good point when she said you just have to know when to shut your mouth. Sometimes it's not worth arguing with people. Sometimes people are just off their rocker. Maybe they're mental, maybe they're misinformed. Sometimes it's like arguing with somebody who has no recollection, or maybe they have no intention of knowing the truth. They want to believe lies. And when ethics comes in, we always have to make sure that we're true to ourselves and that we're speaking the truth, because knowledge is accountability, and being able to share with somebody maybe life-saving knowledge is so important. Ethics can mean different things to different people, whether it's ethical lapse in business or politics, or disagreement about medical treatments or end-of-life choices. People come to contact with ethical dilemmas regularly. Speaking and listeners of public speaking face numerous ethical dilemmas as well. What kind of support material and sources are ethical to use? How much should a speaker adapt to an audience without sacrificing his or her own views? What makes a speech ethical? We have ends, means, and intent. Intent of Tilly is a major consideration to be aware of when examining ethically of something, the issue of intent. To be ethical speaker listener, it's important to begin with ethical intentions. For example, if we agree that honesty is ethical, it follows the ethical speakers will prepare their remarks with intention of telling the truth to audiences. Similarly, if we agree that ethical to listen with an open mind, it follows that ethical listeners be intentional about letting a speaker make his or her case before forming judgments. One option for assessing intent is to talk with others about how ethical they think a behavior is. If you get a variety of answers, it might be a sign that behavior is not ethical and should be avoided. Second option is to check out existing codes of ethics. Many professional organizations, including the Independent Computer Consultants Association, American Counseling Association, American Society of Home Inspectors, have codes of conduct or ethical guidelines for their members. Individual corporations such as Monsanto, Coca-Cola, Intel, and ConocoPhillips have ethical guidelines for their employees and how they should interact with suppliers and clients. Means, Tilly describes the means by you communicate with others, the second level of ethics pyramid. According to McCronzy, Wrench, and Richmond, means that the tools or behaviors we employ to achieve a desired outcome. We must realize there's a range of possible behavioral situations for any situation, and some choices are good and some are bad and some are fall in between. Ends, the final part of the ethics pyramid is the ends. According to McConzie, Wrench, and Richmond's, ends of those outcomes that you desire to achieve. Examples of the ends might include persuading your audience to make financial contribution to your participation in Relay for Life. That is cancer. It's with American Cancer Society. I used to participate in those a lot because different places I worked at liked us to volunteer there. Other intentions and means ends could be good or bad, and they fall in the gray area where it's unclear how ethical and unethical they are. For example, suppose the city council wants to balance a city's annual budget. Balancing the budget may be good end, assuming the city has adequate tax revenues and areas of discretionary spending for non-essential services for the year in question. Thinking through the pyramid, ultimately understanding ethics is a matter of balancing all three parts of the ethic pyramid. Intent, means, and ends. And when thinking about the ethics of a given behavior, Tilly recommends asking yourself 3 basic questions. Have I discussed the ethicability of behavior with others and come to some general consensus that behavior is ethical? The takeaway here is that ethic pyramids is a pictorial way to understanding the 3 fundamental parts of the ethics: intent, means, and ends. Intent exists with the base of the ethical pyramid and serves as the foundation for determining the ethics of specific behavior and means as the tools to use to accomplish the goals and contribute to the second layer of the ethical pyramid. And finally, the ends is the result that occur after specific behavior is occurred and existing at the top of the pyramid. So I'm going to go ahead and put these exercises at the end of your outline for today. And we're going to go ahead and have that for you to do. And it will be emailed to you shortly. Thank you so much. And have a wonderful week full of blessings. Happy New Year to everybody. And make sure that if you have questions, just email me. Okay, thanks so much. Have a blessed week. Bye.